The sun hangs low in the sky, casting long shadows across the cracked pavement of a lonely rural gas station. The neon open sign flickers in the window, buzzing faintly in the quiet evening air. A few old sedans sit at the far end of the lot, their owners inside, lost in their own worlds. A distant storm brews on the horizon, dark clouds rolling in with an eerie promise of rain. The air is thick, humid, carrying the faint scent of gasoline and asphalt. A low wind stirs the dust near the fuel pumps, whispering through the trees beyond the lot. The gas station itself is old, its white paint peeling from years of neglect. A single flickering street lamp stands guard near the entrance, casting a dull yellow glow over the station's small convenience store. Inside, Frank, the gas station attendant, watches the road with knowing eyes. Frank is in his late 60s, his face etched with lines from a lifetime of experience. He's seen a lot in his years working this place: truckers passing through, teenagers loitering, the occasional drifter looking for trouble. But tonight, his gut tells him something is off. He wipes a rag over the counter, glancing out the window. A lone woman stands at pump number 3, fueling her vehicle. She looks calm, too calm, like someone who's seen worse things than a quiet evening at an empty gas station. Frank exhales, shifting uneasily. And then, the silence is shattered. A deep rumble fills the air, growing louder, vibrating through the ground. Motorcycles. Frank tightens his grip on the rag. Trouble's coming. The woman at the pump, Sarah Matthews, doesn't flinch at the sound of roaring engines. She finishes fueling her car with a kind of steady composure that suggests she's used to commotion, used to trouble. Sarah is in her late 30s, dressed in a pair of well-fitted jeans, sturdy boots, and a simple black jacket. Nothing flashy, nothing that screams attention. But despite her low profile, there's something about her that commands respect, or at least should. Her posture is unmistakable. Straight shoulders, chin level, movements measured. The kind of discipline that doesn't come from an ordinary life. It's the kind of poise that comes from training, from experience, from knowing exactly what to do in a crisis. Sarah Matthews isn't just any woman. She's a former military combat veteran, trained in high-stakes operations, battle-hardened by years in service. Now, she works as a local police officer, known in town for her firm but fair approach. She doesn't say much, and she doesn't have to. She's the kind of person who sees everything, every movement, every sound, every shift in body language. It's second nature to her, a skill that once kept her alive on foreign soil. But right now, she's just trying to pump gas. And she's about to become someone's mistake. The roar of motorcycles cuts through the fading daylight like thunder. 5 bikes roll into the lot, engines growling, chrome gleaming under the dying sun. They park haphazardly, claiming the space as their own. The riders dismount, laughing, cracking jokes, the stench of arrogance thick around them. This is their playground. They live for intimidation. Thrill-seekers who enjoy watching people squirm. At the head of the group stands Mad Dog, their leader. He's in his 40s, a broad-shouldered man with greasy blonde hair and a mess of tattoos crawling up his neck and arms. His eyes gleam with amusement as he scans the lot, looking for someone to mess with. Behind him is Grizzly, his second in command. A hulking brute, arms like tree trunks, his knuckles already bruised from past fights. Unpredictable, dangerous, the kind of man who fights first and thinks later, if at all. The others. Trigger, a wiry, sarcastic biker who never stops running his mouth, always looking to stir the pot. Jax, the quiet one, but in a way that's unsettling. He watches, waits, calculates. Rex, the youngest, eager to prove himself, reckless and desperate for approval. They don't belong here. And yet, they own the moment. Mad Dog smirks, nudging Grizzly as his gaze lands on Sarah. Well, well, look at this. The gang struts toward the gas pumps, boots scraping against the pavement. Their presence alone is a warning, but it isn't loud enough for them. One by one, they rev their engines, letting the noise crash against the quiet evening air. The ground shakes, but Sarah doesn't even glance their way. She replaces the gas cap with precise, deliberate movements. She knows the type, and she knows exactly what they want. Mad Dog grins, rolling his shoulders as he steps forward. Too close. Frank watches from the window, his gut twisting. He knows Sarah isn't the kind of woman to scare easily, but he also knows the gang isn't the kind to back down. Trigger tilts his head. Hey, sweetheart, you deaf or something? Sarah ignores him, walking toward her driver's side door. Wrong move. To them, it's a challenge. Mad Dog chuckles, shaking his head. Ain't no way you're just gonna walk off now. Grizzly steps up beside him, arms crossed, a slow grin spreading across his bearded face. She's got some nerve. Rex shifts on his feet, glancing at Sarah's hands. Steady, controlled, not even a twitch of fear. Something about her feels wrong. But Mad Dog doesn't see it. He only sees a woman who isn't reacting the way she's supposed to. He takes another step forward, entering her space. Sarah finally meets his gaze. Unflinching, unbothered. For the first time, the gang hesitates. Something about that look makes them pause, just for a second. And then, Sarah speaks. 2 words. Step back. A beat of silence. Then, Mad Dog laughs. Big mistake. Mad Dog sneers, his patience wearing thin. You too good to talk to us, sweetheart? He taunts, stepping closer. His gang chuckles, emboldened by his bravado. Sarah doesn't flinch. She continues securing the gas nozzle back into the pump, her expression unreadable. Grizzly crosses his arms, his massive frame blocking part of the station's dim lighting. Maybe she's scared, boss, he smirks. Ain't used to real men. Trigger snorts. Or maybe she's just rude. That any way to treat friendly guys. His voice drips with sarcasm. Sarah finally looks up, her gaze meeting Mad Dog's. Her eyes are cool, calculating. I don't want trouble. Mad Dog grins, misinterpreting her words as weakness. Trouble? Ain't no trouble here, lady. Just some friendly conversation. The gang erupts into laughter. Sarah remains still, watching, waiting. A sharp wind picks up, rustling the overgrown grass beyond the station. The distant storm creeps closer. Grizzly shifts, deliberately moving to block Sarah's way back to her car. Ain't polite to walk away in the middle of a conversation, he growls. Sarah lets out a slow breath, but doesn't respond. Trigger, always the troublemaker, feigns a stumble and knocks over a small gas canister near Sarah's feet. The sharp smell of gasoline fills the air. Oops, he grins. Clumsy me. Rex, the youngest and most reckless of the gang, takes things further. He reaches out, gripping the sleeve of Sarah's jacket. Hey, we're just trying to be nice. Sarah moves like a whip. In one smooth motion, she twists her arm, breaking his grip. Rex stumbles back, startled. Frank, the old gas station attendant, grips the edge of the counter inside the store, his knuckles white. He considers reaching for the phone to call the sheriff, but then Sarah subtly shakes her head. A silent message. I've got this. Sarah exhales, slow and controlled. Then, finally, she speaks. Walk away. The words are calm, devoid of fear, yet they carry weight. Jax, the quiet one, narrows his eyes. He's been in enough fights to recognize when someone isn't bluffing, and something about Sarah's composure unsettles him. But Mad Dog isn't Jax. He's a bully who thrives on dominance, and Sarah's defiance rubs him the wrong way. He leans in, smirking. Walk away. From you. He chuckles darkly. Lady, you don't seem to understand. Sarah cuts him off. No, you don't. Her voice remains steady. But you will. For the first time, an uneasy silence falls over the gang. Then, Mad Dog's pride flares. He reaches out and shoves Sarah hard. The moment his hands make contact, everything changes. A blur of movement, too fast for the bikers to process. In the blink of an eye, Mad Dog is on the ground, gasping for breath. Sarah stands over him, her posture still relaxed, her expression unchanged. The gang stares in stunned silence. What the hell just happened? Rex breathes. Mad Dog scrambles up, rage burning in his eyes. He roars, "Get her!" And just like that, the Rayol fight begins. Rex lunges first, young, reckless, and desperate to prove himself. Big mistake. Sarah moves like a shadow. Before he can even register what's happening, she twists his arm, locking his wrist at an unnatural angle. A sickening crack echoes through the night as he drops to the ground, clutching his shoulder, groaning in pain. Trigger reacts next, his instincts kicking in. His hand shoots to his belt, fingers curling around the handle of a knife. He never gets to draw it. Sarah pivots, lightning fast, and strikes his wrist with surgical precision. The blade clatters to the ground. In the same motion, she grips his arm, flipping him over her shoulder. He crashes onto the pavement, wind knocked from his lungs. Mad Dog's smug grin vanishes. He realizes too late, this isn't just some woman standing in front of them. This is a warrior. Grizzly bellows in rage. He's massive, nearly twice Sarah's size, and thinks brute force will do what speed cannot. He charges. Sarah sidesteps at the last second. Grizzly's own momentum betrays him. His foot catches the edge of a fuel puddle left from Trigger's earlier stunt. He slips, staggering forward. Sarah helps him along, a sharp kick to the back of his knee sending him crashing face first into the side of the gas pump. Jax, the quiet one, finally takes a step back, eyes darting between his fallen crew members. He's no fool. He sees the way Sarah moves. This is a fight they can't win. Mad Dog isn't ready to accept that. He snarls, yanking a heavy metal chain from his belt. It rattles in the air as he swings it toward Sarah. She doesn't flinch. She doesn't even blink. The moment the chain lashes forward, Sarah steps inside its arc. She catches his wrist mid-swing, twists, hard, and wrenches him down. His own weapon is now useless against him. Before he can react, she drives a knee into his ribs, sending him sprawling to the pavement. The chain clatters uselessly beside him. He coughs, struggling to push himself up. But when he looks up at Sarah, he finally sees what Jax already realized. They never stood a chance. The bikers stagger back, groaning, clutching bruises and sprains. The arrogance, the bravado, all gone. Sarah straightens, adjusting her jacket like she just finished a routine workout. Her breathing is steady, completely in control. That's when she speaks. "You picked the wrong fight," she says, voice calm but firm. Mad Dog glares up at her, his lip bleeding. "Who the hell are you?" he spits. Sarah tilts her head. You really want to know? She lets the moment linger before continuing. Former combat veteran. Special operations. Police officer. The color drains from Mad Dog's face. Frank, still watching from the doorway of the station, smirks. Tried to warn you boys, he mutters under his breath. Then, sirens. Distant at first, but growing louder. Red and blue lights flashing against the darkening sky. Sarah crosses her arms. You should have walked away when you had the chance. Mad Dog stumbles to his feet, panic setting in. This isn't just a bar fight anymore. This is jail time. His gang looks to him for a plan. But for the first time, Mad Dog has no idea what to do. The distant wail of sirens grows louder, the flashing red and blue lights cutting through the night. The atmosphere at the gas station shifts. Whatever smug confidence the bikers had left evaporates. Sheriff Daniels steps out of the patrol car, his boots crunching on the gravel. He's a tall, weathered man in his 50s, built like someone who spent a lifetime chasing trouble. His sharp gaze lands on Sarah, then on the scattered, groaning bikers. Let me guess, he sighs. They messed with the wrong person. Frank, still leaning against the gas station door, chuckles. I'd say that's an understatement. The bikers scramble to save face. Mad Dog straightens up, wincing, and jabs a finger in Sarah's direction. She jumped us. We were just having a little fun. And she... Daniels holds up a hand. Stop. He turns toward the security cameras mounted above the station. Before you dig yourself an even deeper hole, you should know. Frank's cameras don't miss a thing. Trigger groans, still clutching his ribs. You gotta be kidding me. Daniels crosses his arms. So, either I can go ahead and check the footage, or you can save me the time and tell me the truth. Silence. Jax exhales sharply. We started it, he mutters. Mad Dog snaps his head toward him. You shut your... Daniels raises an eyebrow. That's what I thought. He signals to the deputies behind him. Cuff them. The officers step forward, securing the bikers one by one. Rex, still nursing his injured arm, barely puts up a fight. Grizzly glares, but even he knows when to keep his mouth shut. Mad Dog, however, sneers as he's pulled to his feet. You think you've won? He spits blood onto the pavement. This ain't over. Sarah steps forward, her expression unreadable. Yes, it is. For the first time, Mad Dog doesn't have a comeback. As the police load the bikers into their cruisers, Frank steps up beside Sarah, arms crossed over his chest. He shakes his head, chuckling. You know, I was wondering when you'd finally teach someone a lesson. Sarah smirks, brushing a stray strand of hair behind her ear. I gave them a choice. Frank laughs. Yeah, and they made the wrong one. He glances at her. You ever get tired of this? She exhales slowly, looking out at the dark road stretching into the distance. People like them don't stop unless they're stopped. I just make sure they don't hurt anyone who can't fight back. Frank nods, as if he expected that answer. Well, remind me never to get on your bad side. Sarah finally cracks a small smile. You're smarter than them, Frank. With that, she gives him a nod and walks toward her truck, leaving him with one last thought. Some people mistake quiet for weakness, until they find out the hard way. Strength isn't about proving yourself. It's about knowing when to act. Actions have consequences. And tonight, the bikers learned that lesson in the harshest way possible. As Sarah starts her truck and pulls away from the station, the message is clear. Not all battles are fought with words. And not every warrior needs to show their strength until it's necessary. The gas station settles into silence once more, the night reclaiming its eerie stillness. The distant storm that had threatened to roll in now lingers on the horizon, its thunder a mere whisper in the wind. Frank stands at the doorway, hands on his hips, watching the last of the police cars disappear down the road. He exhales through his nose, shaking his head in quiet amusement. "Never a dull night," he mutters, chuckling to himself. Inside, the faint hum of the overhead lights and the ticking of the clock are the only sounds left. The gas station looks the same as before, like nothing ever happened. But the faint scuff marks on the pavement and the scattered remnants of a spilled gas canister say otherwise. Out on the open road, Sarah drives with one hand on the wheel, her expression as unreadable as ever. She doesn't glance in the rearview mirror. There's no need. What's done is done. The wind howls past a truck, the night stretching before her, endless and unknown. But that doesn't bother her. She's never been one to dwell on the past. Somewhere, in some other town, troublemakers like Mad Dog and his gang might still be out there, thinking they own the world. But they won't forget this night. The bruises will fade, but the lesson won't. And neither will the story. Whispers of what happened at the lonely gas station will spread. Some will exaggerate it, turning Sarah into an unstoppable warrior, a shadow in the night who took down an entire gang with a single glance. Others will laugh it off as just another barroom tale. But those who were there, Frank, the cops, and most importantly, the bikers themselves, will know the truth. There's a quiet woman out there, one who doesn't seek trouble but doesn't run from it either. And for those foolish enough to test her patience, well, they'll only make that mistake once.